is everyone? I hope everybody is staying as safe as possible. Today's video is quite different. It is about 5 videos that are banned from public. So it's not really about a specific person. I thought I would change it up a bit, so I really hope you enjoy. On March 9th, 2001, in Rottenburg, Germany, Armin Maives met up with a guy named Brandes. They organized Brandes being eaten. Maives, who had a fetish for cannibalism, posted his ad on a cannibalism forum called the Cannibal Cafe. It can still be accessed today through archives. Some of his posts under the name Frankie can also be found. After posting a few ads requesting someone that wished to be eaten, he received a few replies. He even met up with another man who bailed out and left. Brandes also replied to Maives. Like Maives, Brandes also had a cannibalism fetish, but in the way that he desired to be consumed. Brandes, still consenting, requested that Maives bit off his lower region, although it was too difficult and eventually had to be cut off. Brandes attempted to eat his lower region raw. However, he couldn't because it was too chewy. Maives then fried it with Brandes' fat and other spices, but had burned it. He then chopped it up and gave it to his pet dog. The video that authorities found was shown to a jury and some journalists. They all needed therapy after seeing the disturbing evidence. 4 alleged screenshots of the video have been leaked online, and apparently a soundless snippet of the video with a transcript. Maives talks about how difficult it is to dismantle Brandes' body. The 2 extra screenshots were said to be Brandes' bleeding head in a bucket and another of his leg being butchered. I'm not going to post the screenshots as they are extremely graphic, however they can easily be found online. Maives is currently serving a life sentence in Kassel Prison, Germany. Brancheau was a SeaWorld trainer who worked with various whales at SeaWorld Orlando. On February 24, 2010, she was tragically killed by the killer whale Tilikum, the largest killer whale held in captivity. Tilikum had killed 2 other people in the past. More about this topic can be found in the documentary Blackfish, where it goes into more detail about her death. Brancheau's incident was especially notable, not just because she had died, but several parts of her body were held by Tilikum, as he stubbornly refused to let them go. Brancheau, a well-known perfectionist, taped almost all of her shows, so that way she could watch them and improve her performance. The incident was, in fact, caught on tape. Part of it can be seen in Blackfish. They were unable to show anything after Tilikum grabbing her arm and getting ready to drag her. This may have been out of respect for her and her family, or because SeaWorld forbade the footage to be shown publicly. SeaWorld fought long and hard to make it look like an accident, instead of an attack. They even went as far as to say that it was because of her ponytail and that's why she was dragged under. Despite many other trainers wearing ponytails, and she has worn ponytails before the incident, she was also dragged by her arm, not her hair. Eyewitness reports, as well as the available footage, prove that Tilikum attacked Brancheau because she had run out of food to reward him for his tricks, and also because he failed to perform one of the tricks to the fullest. Because of this incident, it is now required by the United States law that SeaWorld trainers only interact with orcas behind a barrier. Many organizations have fought hard to try to make it illegal to keep killer whales in captivity in general. Issei Sagawa, the Japanese cannibal audio. On June 11, 1981, in Paris, France, Issei Sagawa killed and partially ate Renee Hartevelt, a Dutch female student he fell in love with. Saga convinced Hartevelt to meet him in his apartment, pretending that he needed her to record German poems. He then shot her in the back using a .22 long rifle while she was reading a poem about death. Using an electric knife, he started taking more than 7 kilos of meat off her body. He consumed her flesh during the next 3 days, cooking several meals using the body leftovers and having sex with the corpse, before finally getting rid of the body. In addition of the recording of the whole butchery, Hartveldt's last words and the gunshot were caught on tape. Sagawa also shot a total of 39 photographs showing several stagings he made with the body. Trying to make Harteveldt's body disappear, Sagawa eventually committed a mistake by losing in a public garden one of his suitcases containing body parts. The rest of Hartveldt's body, the rifle, the butchery photos, the tape recorders, as well as several other evidence were found in his apartment. He was never condemned for the murder. He was recognized as mentally insane by 3 psychiatrist experts. He was jailed for 1 year in a mental hospital. He was then transferred to Japan, and because of loopholes, he was released on the 13th of August, 1985. Following the murder, Sagawa became a small-time celebrity in Japan, writing books, playing in erotic films, reviewing restaurants, and invited as a guest speaker in various TV shows. He currently lives in Yokohama, Japan, working as a freelance artist for nude paintings, and has recently expressed the wish of dying slowly, being eaten by a tall Dutch woman. While all of the graphic crime scene and autopsy pictures were published in a magazine in December 1983, the tape coming from Sagawa's audio recorder is not known to be unearthed in any form. If it still exists, it likely remains in police archives. Scarborough Rapist, or also known as the Ken and Barbie Killers. Paul Bernado terrorized the community of Scarborough, Ontario during the late 1980s and the early 90s. In 1988, the police began to realize that there was a serial rapist who was attacking young women in the local area. Between 1987 and 1989, Paul Bernado attacked around 20 separate women and raped half of them. In 1990, the police gathered DNA evidence from 130 suspects. One of them was Paul Bernado, who submitted DNA evidence and was released in November 1990. In 1990, Bernado also got engaged to Karla Homolka and became infatuated with her younger sister, Tammy. Paul convinced Karla to drug her sister and allowed him to rape her. The two videotaped the event and mocked Tammy. During one attack on Tammy, she began to vomit and choke to her death. In response, Karla took the camera and filmed herself in Tammy's clothes and pretended to be her. After an investigation, Tammy's death was ruled an accident. In June 1991, a Jane Doe, who was Karla's co-worker, was drugged and co-raped by the couple, and they videotaped it. The girl woke up not even knowing she had been raped. On June 15, 1991, Paul Bernado kidnapped a young girl named Leslie Mahaffey and brought her back to his home with Karla. The pair had attacked the girl and videotaped themselves torturing her to the music of Bob Marley and David Bowie. The following day, Leslie Mahaffey was murdered by the couple. They cut her body into pieces and encased them in pieces of cement and threw them into a lake. On June 29th, some of Mahaffey's remains were found. This was the same day that Paul and Karla married each other. In April 1992, both Paul and Karla abducted a girl named Kirsten French. French was taken back to the couple's house where they filmed themselves torturing her in horrible ways. The following day, Kirsten was murdered. 26 months after his DNA evidence was submitted, Paul was linked to the Scarborough rape cases and arrested. However, authorities could not implement him in the murders, so they turned to Karla, who was given a plea deal in order to testify against him. Karla accepted the deal and was sentenced to 12 years in jail for the role of her murders. During the trial, Karla painted herself as a victim to Paul, and in 1995, Paul was sentenced to life in prison. He is eligible for parole this year, 2020. In 1993, after Karla was given the plea deal, Paul led the police to a collection of videotapes that were hidden in his house. He also confessed to over 30 rapes. The tapes showed Karla participating and instigating the crimes. She was seen sexually assaulting and drugging multiple victims without Paul in the room. If admissible in court, the content of the tapes would have led to a conviction of murder for Karla. Regardless of her apparent guilt, the deal was made, and Karla could not be retried for her crimes. Her plea deal was named Deal with the Devil. In December 2001, the tapes were apparently destroyed. An interview taken with Karla as she watched the tapes with police remains sealed to the public. In 2005, Karla was released from prison and is currently living with her husband and 3 children and volunteers at the children's school. She now lives under a false name. One last eerie thing I wanted to say was the couple put this in Tammy's casket. As Tammy had to be exhumed, they found this photo. It was never put back in. Sadly, the autopsy photos are online. The TOYBOX Killer. Serial rapist and suspected serial killer David Parker Ray would play an audio recording known as the David Parker Ray tape or the TOYBOX tape to his female prisoners shortly before raping and torturing them. The disturbing detail is captured on the recording. To him, it was all a part of his sick and twisted game. Investigators believe David Parker Ray may have murdered up to 50 people from New Mexico and Arizona between the mid-1980s until his arrest in 1999. A soundproof trailer kept on his New Mexico property, which Ray called his TOYBOX, served as a sex dungeon and the setting for many of his crimes. The construction reportedly cost him $100,000 and was filled with an array of sexual torture devices. Among the items found was a gynecologist table, whips, pulleys, saws, surgical blades, and an electricity generating device. After years of unspeakable brutality, Ray was finally caught in 1999. His arrest was the result of an escaped victim who ran to a nearby home and reported her ordeal to the police. As the FBI expanded their investigation into Ray's criminal activity and the news about the case spread, more women who had escaped Ray's torture chamber came forward with their accounts. Some had gone to the police, who failed to follow up on the reports. Others were uncertain as to whether what they remembered had actually happened, or if it was some nightmare. This was due to the fact that Ray often drugged his victims to induce amnesia in an attempt to cover his tracks. However, they did have convictions against him for kidnapping and torture in 2001. Authorities scoured his property for human remains. They had found clues of multiple killings, including entries in Ray's diary where he had described murdering women, along with tons of clothes and jewelry found in his trailer. I will leave the link down below so you can see all of this. David Parker Ray died in 2002 of a heart attack. Because there was no bodies ever found, the case went quiet. However, he did have known accomplices. Cynthia Cindy Lee Hendy, Ray's girlfriend, she was sentenced to 36 years in prison for involvement in kidnapping and tortures. Glenda Jean Jessie Ray, Ray's daughter. She aided Ray in killing Mary B. Parker, together with Yancey, sentenced to 5 years of probation for second-degree kidnapping. Dennis Roy Yancey aided Ray and Glenda Ray in killing Mary B. Parker, and he was sentenced to 2 15-year sentences for kidnapping and second-degree murder. David Ray's torture videos, audio, and photographs, along with most diary entries, have all been banned from the public.